Alright, it turns out that just 2 videos celebrating reaching the 1000 videos milestone wasn't enough. We need to have one more, and the main reason is I wanted to feature as many other channels as possible, and also some prominent community members. I have so much footage recorded of me getting matched up with other people, and a lot of the time it ends up on the cutting room floor. Oftentimes because I don't want to spoil the runs that other people are doing, and there's actually been a few runs I've discovered in recent days which I'd completely forgotten about, and the reason they were shelved is because someone else had a very fancy team and I didn't want to reveal it ahead of time. So the first run we're actually going to look at today is not by me at all. It is from Wombat. And it looks like in the near future we're going to be able to get the ability to actually share replays more easily within the game. At the moment, if you want to share replays with people, you have to record the footage and then send it to them, which really is very impractical. But I'm not 100% sure if it will be in the next update or maybe the one after that. But we are going to get an option to be able to send someone else a code which will let them watch the replay, which is incredibly useful. And I can already think of lots of things to do with that. So here's like kind of a test run, I guess, for me doing pseudo rate my gameplay style content. We're not going to rate this run, but we are going to talk about it because it is very amusing. And actually, since I edited this, Wombat has sent me another run which is even more interesting, so I guess I'll have to save that for a future video. But yeah, I guess in general, to just explain how long I've been playing this game. I guess it was 2021 that I started, but way back at the beginning it was very rare to run into other people that you knew when you were playing. This was at the height of the game's popularity, so when NL and Ludwig were streaming all the time, there were thousands of people playing. And even though we were mostly all playing Turtle Pack, your chances of matching up with someone that you knew were very slim. And as time has gone on, we've all reached the point where we recognize more players in the pool. But also there are fewer players now. And so matching up with other people happens much more frequently. And the end result of that is sometimes lots of private messages being exchanged when, we inadvertently tank each other's runs. But also lots of fun private messages when incredible things happen in battles, maybe in runs that wouldn't otherwise get uploaded. And I do try to feature these clips quite often as bonuses at the end of runs. But there are just too many to always include them. And so we're going to try and get as many uploaded in one go here as possible. But interspersed within those clips, we're also going to have some of these complete runs. There will be a couple where I'm actually playing. But first we've got Wombat on deck. And Wombat is an incredibly creative player. I think he took a break for a while. I'm not sure how long that was, but he's come back refreshed and keeps churning out incredibly fun teams. And you might wonder, why is his username "I'm so revved up right now"? Why isn't it just Wombat? Well, probably I would imagine Wombat was already taken. You would think that most of the pets in the game would have been registered as usernames already. But I think the reason it's "I'm so revved up right now" is that Wombat came last in one of Rev's tournaments, and I think the forfeit for coming last was having to change your name. And I guess I'm not sure if that's what Rev picked or if the forfeiter had to pick themselves, but he stuck with that name ever since, and I think it's pretty funny every time I see it. As you can see, the team is coming together here with Seagull and the Puma giving coconut to everything. There is one unit still missing from the team, which I assume is going to appear fairly shortly. But turn 14 going to lose to the banana pill leopard. Actually very close because of the sheer number of coconuts. But I think this turn, the last remaining pet is going to come into the squad. There it is. It is the tardigrade. Actually sells one of the Pumas. I guess it doesn't really matter too much having coconut on the backline units. This looks like a whale shark team maybe that has transformed into Fairy Armadillo, actually maybe not. I think the stats are a bit too lopsided there. But level 3 Snake does just so much damage. And yeah, the Coconut's going to see Wombat through. So that's 9 trophies, just 1 more required. And probably freeze any waffles on offer in case it's a tie and they go to the next round. Absolutely massive team with Abomination plus Tiger, but it didn't seem like the Abomination had any start of battle abilities there. And without disruption, Snake teams are just going to go completely wild, especially at level 3. So thanks Wombat, very fun run, and I look forward to sharing the next one. So now we're going to start looking at some clips. I don't have full runs for every single person, so we're just going to have to settle for a bunch of shorter clips for various creators and community members. And here the first one is John Bear, although I think he prefers it to be pronounced Guiomber. Guiomber. Yeah, doesn't really play Arena too much anymore, but a very accomplished versus player and streams team tour matches quite often, I think. Here's one actually going for the Cassowary 5 of a kind in the old version of Star Pack. I get the Badger, which breaks the pepper, but the Turtle giving Melon is going to save me, and I take the win. Now this is some really old footage. This is me versus Goldemon. Maybe if you're a newer viewer, you wouldn't have heard of Goldemon, and it's actually funny seeing the old animations. I don't have that many clips of the really old creators, just because way back at the beginning, like I said, it was pretty rare to run into people. Here's Nutic, who I've mentioned many times before in the past as well. Some old art in that clip. All of these creators are listed on my website as well if you want to go back and look at some of their old videos that are still available. Here's me getting matched with Ann Disney. I actually should have loads of clips getting matched with Andy, but I don't seem to have labelled enough of them. So I'm just making do with the ones here. Some of these clips, actually, I should mention, probably some of them have been used before on the channel, but it's incredibly difficult to keep track of which ones have and which ones haven't. So although there will be some repeats, it's generally new content. And it looks like we're just going to scrape the win in that one. Who's next? Oh, it's Izatashi, also known as Mikudo. Now, there were a lot of videos on Mikudo's channel, but I feel like some time ago, almost all of them were made private, so there's only a handful left, which is kind of a shame. Definitely completed a lot of 5 of a kinds in the past. And then who remembers Toonie for the bus? Definitely was part of my routine for quite a while, watching Toonie's latest video. And here, I think I'm going to end up losing, am I? Yeah, the Toad just doesn't have enough triggers. This is actually before the triggers grayed out on pets when they ran out. So that was a nice quality of life improvement. And then here's a pretty rancid team with a double dragon. The second dragon gets all the Stego stats, still gets deleted by the water pistol thing at the bottom. Toy gun, I guess it's called. But we still lose. And then here's the only clip I could find where I'd actually marked it as playing against Kelby. Kelby's another Twitch denizen who's played a ridiculous number of hours of this game, probably even more than me. Yeah, we win as a result of the worm having exposed at the back there. And then here's Kyogre, plays under the name Thanos, or maybe it's Thanos T, I don't know. And unfortunately, this was an infinite. This has since been patched out of the game, but we're going to go and look at the end screen, or the turn progression for his team, and you'll see it's a one turn 50-50 shop from 11 to 12. That clip has actually been featured on his channel before, but I thought it was worth reusing here since I think it was the funniest one I had that he was involved with. So next one we're going to look at is a run from me. Now this one, I don't know if I actually go against any other creators. This is in the weekly pack from I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was the one that had loads of my favourite units in it, so Frigate Bird, Fruit Fly, Mandrake, you know, there's plenty more which we'll see later on. And I had actually put out 2 videos on the weekly. Very rare for me to do that, but because it was such a good one, I made the most of it. And at the very end of the week, I got a private message from Andynomous. Now, if you don't know who Andynomous is, he's the pioneer who created the empty team. So I don't know if it's still possible, but way back, Andy had a video featured on Rate My Gameplay from Rev. And in that video, he won with an empty team. So there were no pets at all, but he had the level 3 evil book. And it is possible to win with an empty team, or at least it was possible, as long as the evil book is powerful enough and they don't have any summons. So that was an incredible moment in SAP history. And so anytime Andy messages me, I'm definitely going to pay attention. And he sent a screenshot of a very, very fun team in this weekly, which I hadn't recorded yet, and suggested I go for it before the time ran out. So that's exactly what I did. I think it was either on a Friday night or Saturday morning I got the message. So it was kind of a mad dash to get this recording before the weekly was over. And the team basically involves using an in-battle flounder reset. So I always like the blobfish reset builds that you see now and again. It's much, much easier to do blobfish resets than it used to be because one of the patches a while back, it was changed to buff the unit behind and then the unit behind that as well in battle. So basically giving 2 experience to 2 pets in battle, which is incredibly useful for doing a reset. But in this particular weekly, we could actually achieve a similar thing using a combination of Farmer Crow and Flounder. As I keep having to click the replay there. I think this bug is going to be fixed in the next version, so that will be really nice. Now we've almost got the setup here. We're looking for, I think, 2 more pets, or at least 1 more pet. I'm not sure the Mandrake is necessary, but I guess there are a few different variations you could do on this. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to play Vampire Bat. Actually, I guess the Mandrake is necessary in the sense that it provides the other ailment. So what's going to happen is the Farmer Crow, when it's level 2, will give corn cobs to the Flounder through the Cuttlefish, and that will allow us to get an extra round of triggers from the Vampire Bat once we get the Vampire Bat to a higher level. Yeah, so it looks like I froze Sea Cucumber in the previous shop, so I think I was preferring Sea Cucumber to Mandrake. Definitely lets us get a little bit of extra scaling if we happen to knock out the unit that gets hit by the Tasty. And then I'm just keeping Vampire Bat frozen here in case we can get it up to level 2.66. I don't want to level it up now because then we could end up ruining the setup. So there you can see the Vampire Bat attacked the giant tortoise, and then it gets to double attack again. So Vampire Bat normally only has 2 triggers, although when it launched it had infinite triggers. And here we go, we end up getting the level 2.33, and I think Flounder now at level 2 is going to give 2 experience. This weekly there were tons of these giant tortoise teams, so it's not surprising that we face a couple of them back to back. But the combination of the Vampire Bat damage and hitting the back units with ink is so devastating, and quite a nice early low statted win on turn 13 there. Alright, back to the clips. Now here's a rare one of me facing Northern Lion. So I think maybe in the 3.5 years that I've been playing, I've faced NL maybe 3 times, 4 times or something total. I think this was actually Unicorn release week. So not surprising that all the biggest SAP creators had jumped on. And then here's one where I played against Scooty. I think I'm sure I've shown this before. But this was me going for an all dogs team in customs, and Scooty was recording something that day as well. And here's an absolutely ancient clip of me against Akron. Now, if you don't remember Akron, he used to play at unbelievable speed, like going for a speed run, doing basically a speed run every single game. I'm sure Akron's channel still exists, even though he doesn't upload, so I'll link it in the description. I'll try and link as many of these creators as I can. Except Northern Lion, probably not necessary to do that. And then here are a couple of rounds against Le Bun. This one has definitely been shown before on Le Bun's channel because I sent the clip over. It's a very, very cool team with Pteranodon, Toad, and Tigerbug, where the Tigerbug keeps coming back to life behind the Pteranodon. Very, very clever and extremely difficult to set up. And it ends up being a 1 HP win for Le Bun against my all Rambutan squad. Next one is a fairly recent one. Now, I'll actually have to apologise to Nick here. I have faced Nick quite a few times in the last few weeks. These were the only clips I had when I edited this video, and they're not particularly entertaining squads on his side of the board. However, there will be some in future videos that are very interesting matchups indeed, so I'll look forward to sharing them. This one was funny because I sent this as a message in a private chat, and Nick actually let me see the end result of this monstrous behemoth team, clearly going for achievements with the Hammerhead and the untransformed Gelada. But then turn 17, this all stats team comes up against double level 3 Vulture and double Orca, level 2 and level 3. And I think you can tell probably what's going to happen here. I think although a lot of us complain about, big stats in the game, or how it's a problem in the game, there definitely are plenty of teams that can win against big stats once you get them to that late stage. It's really the massive statted teams in the early late game that are the problem. So here, this one is a very funny round where my team gets demolished by the Red Dragon and the Manticore. This is against Fraser from Super Autopod. Carlos, who's the other host of that podcast, I definitely did have some games against him, but I couldn't find any of the clips. So, bit of an unfortunate one, but I'm not. If I didn't already mention it at the beginning, there are definitely a bunch of people, creators, but also just community members in general that I would have featured in this if I could find the clips. I wasn't really planning on making a video like this until recently. So generally the stuff that I actually have saved is anything to do with another YouTube channel. And then here's a nice Nightcrawler run getting absolutely ruined by Suboptimal going for achievements. Actually here you can see kind of a bug where the good dog is still glowing, like its ability goes off, it gets the green glow and then it just stays. So kind of unusual there. And then here's Table for 2. I don't have very many clips against Table. In fact, most of the people who just played the weekly, I tended not to have clips against them, but Table did have a few games towards the end where he was going for insane stuff in customs. And I think this was an attempt to get all 100 behemoths. And as strong as Behemoth is, it's still very difficult to get the full 100. Now here's a rare one in amongst all of these that is a golden pack run. I wanted to show a game against Crocs Are Nice. Crocs did have a channel going. I think all of the content has been removed from it now, which is kind of a shame. There was lots of tutorials and things. But yeah, I wanted to feature that. Kind of miss seeing Crocs out there in the wild. And here's one from Not a Game Devlog, whose username was originally ReHorizon. I think this was a tempo pack, so yeah, that's why all the units are basically base stats. And Eagle spawns Orca, spawns Olm, which ends up giving the Whale Shark extra stats, and it's a 1 HP loss. Okay, next, full run, or mostly, maybe not quite full run, but main run, I suppose. And this one is from Meris Laris. Now, I've mentioned Meris in a few videos because I do sometimes come up against these teams in customs, and I always mention that they love these strawberry builds, either strawberry or buy-sell with Sea Anemone and Starfish. But I thought this was a really fun team, And so we've got it in replay form, which I'm very grateful for. I mean, it's not that I don't have tons of extra footage, but I think it does add something when you're looking at other people's runs, because the play styles are often quite different. And although I do play some of the strawberry units quite a lot, I really generally don't play things like Hummingbird anymore. Very rarely do I play stuff like Sparrow, for instance. Here's actually a super rare Spider Crab team on the other side of the board. So nice to get pretty much a free win there. And Shima Inaga is incredibly good for instantly getting up to a high level, as Meris activates the Gelada and then transforms it immediately into Skunk. Very efficient. Actually, the other Gelada, of course, is going to get activated by the Hummingbird because it was fed once in the previous shop phase by the other Gelada. And another pretty comfortable win there. Now, you don't see many people playing Albino Squirrel, but here you can see how useful it can be under certain circumstances, where the 3 foods for 2 gold allows the double Gelada activation in 1 turn. So I think probably outcompeting basically any opposing team you'd expect to see on turn 8. Or maybe not. I mean, you know, there are obviously incredible high rolls all over the place in customs. But now we're going to start to see the final team coming together, as the Gelada gets activated by 2 1 gold strawberry jams, which is incredible value. Obviously the Gelada is going to get kept here and then transformed into something else. But yeah, I think you can clearly see still outperforming most of the opposing sides. It is kind of interesting that Shima Inaga can summon another Shima Inaga from Strawberry. It's kind of like the opposite of Fly. You know, Fly can't summon another zombie fly when a zombie fly faints, but Shima Inaga doesn't seem to have a problem doing it. And fairly strong looking summon team on the other side, but Snake immediately kills the Vulture. And so the Sawfish is kind of left a bit lonely in the backline there. And I think the Snake is probably going to take care of it pretty soon. Yeah, I guess all these summons getting knocked out would give the Vulture a trigger, but it doesn't give the Sawfish a trigger because it needs the pet to actually attack. So that's 7 wins. And taking Sardinian Current. Snake is one of those units that I used to play in Turtle all the time way back. And these days I hardly ever play it. Here's someone looks like they're going for the achievement on the Babirusa. Are they going to be strong enough here? I think this might actually end up being a tie. Yep. Shows you just how strong that kind of a team can be. You know, it looks like an automatic loss against those huge units, but actually not quite as straightforward. Yeah, freezing up the cats because you know, you get the jump scare from the massive team in the previous round and think maybe you're going to have to get rid of something. Actually, it's the same person again, and maybe they were going for multiple achievements in this particular game. Only 1 huge unit this time though, so I think the summon team is going to get through. Yep. But I think this probably needs to be closed out fairly soon, so I'm not sure there's going to be time for the cats here. Okay, doesn't freeze the mushroom for the snake. I guess the mushroom for the snake wouldn't make any sense anyway because the strawberry is going to overwrite it. So you'd actually have to get rid of the hummingbird first. This might be a bridge too far here with the leech. This particular opponent always plays leech hurt teams. Yeah, not too far off. Maybe with different snake snipes that could have been a win, I'm not sure. But yeah, the cat's gone. Now we start getting into the point where we're going to need to think about some different pets inside the beluga. So first one is going to be Stonefish, and level 2 snake with the last 3 gold is perfect. I guess actually at this point I'm almost at the end of the run. I didn't really explain fully who Meris is. So Meris was one of the other danger pack testers. There weren't that many of us, but Meris spent a lot of time working on trying to make sure that Tree Kangaroo was fixed because it was so buggy. But also just generally testing a lot, and I'll have mentioned their name in the previous videos on the test server multiple times. So this is pretty funny. The random food hits the beluga, which I think was a tactical freeze there on the elephant seal. So then the elephant seal gets the strawberry from the racket tail, and another huge opposing team. Actually, appropriately, it's a starfish team, and Metis takes the victory. Another win for the testers. All right, back to some more clips. Now here's Matchman. Now Matchman actually sent me a full run as well. These are just a couple of clips of me randomly playing against his teams here. Yeah, looks like we're just going to win. I think this was a failed attempt to get the Panther plus Tomato going. But then he sent me this clip here of a Panther run where it's Panther with Unagi first, and then the Toucan gives it Blackberry afterwards. But I think this game just ends up going way too late, because at this point the Blackberry doesn't really matter anymore because the Panther's almost maxed. I guess it could matter if the Panther got skunked. But I think what's going to happen here is the next opponent is going to be a 50-50 shop team. A bunch of level 1s with almost 50-50 stats. And yeah, there's not going to be much you can do about it. Valiant effort though. And Panther Unagi does make me think that there could be some pretty fun ideas with that. Here's another run, which I haven't actually released the main run from this session yet. But this is me losing to Matchman. Just for fairness, we don't want to end on a loss there for Matchman. I get beaten fair and square on that one. Who's up next? Okay, we've got Kino. Maybe I could have put Kino back at the beginning with Scooty and some of the other OG creators. But trying to put this together was taking me so long. I ended up just putting things in no particular order, other than one or two that we're going to save to the end. I don't face Kino very often because Kino mostly plays either lobbies or the weekly pack. And this is one with triple butterfly, which I was pretty annoyed at. This was actually the mirror weekly where you could get the secret achievement. And then here's Marco next with a sloth on board. I think I was going for griffin stuff in this particular game. I assume that sloth did not make it, Marco. And then here's one where I was going for all iguanas. I think this was in the previous version of Star. So yeah, so the ostrich still gave +1/1 on roll. And obviously we did a big starfish cell there as well. And then I think this is right near, way back near the beginning of Unicorn, where Mirko was going for the gauntlet and Worf is still in the pack. And although I did have a pretty strong team, Worf was just so strong back then that I ended up losing by 1 HP there on the Kraken. And here's a hilarious one where I end up facing Mirko going for 5 pelicans. Of course, this is the version even further back where the strawberry units were mostly just scalers. Now this next clip I'm having to come back and voice over after the fact. Unfortunately, when I uploaded the final video, Mirko's clip here, which is taken from a stream, had audio in the background which was copyrighted. I didn't even notice on first edit. But unfortunately, that means that I'm going to have to remove all his voiceover, which was really funny. Here, he's hard rolling for Panther to try and get the 5 of a kind. And he gets the last one on the final roll. And unfortunately, he gets matched with a much better 5 of a kind expert going for 5 pumas. And yeah, puma is one of the easiest 5 of a kinds, especially back then. I think Chameleon might still have been broken back then. And there you can see Flame commenting on the stream, grounded with the 5 pumas. Mirko didn't even notice. So then he goes and checks the replay just to be sure. And yes, indeed, it was me with 5 pumas. I'm sorry, Mirko. Blame the matchmaking. Alright, next up is Infected Player. Quite a few people actually play with different usernames to the channel name, which has always surprised me. I guess at this point everyone knows that Disease is Infected Player. It makes a little bit more sense than Wombat's different name, I guess, I will say. But yeah, here's one where I have another Goblin Shark malfunction against Infected Player. And then I think the next round is going to be one of the craziest rounds I've ever had. Yeah, I don't know if I've shared this clip before or not, but this was me trying to record a rip-off of a video that was on Rev's channel. It was for a bit of a joke. A joke video which a lot of people thought was serious. But count the number of tardigrades that actually get summoned here, as we happen to face Infected playing with the Crisp unit, I've forgotten the name of it, Boitata. And it ends up resummoning a ton of tardigrades there. And I think here, yeah, we do get one more at the very end there. Alright, Rain Shadow's up next. And this is a pretty funny one where I think this was me going for a setup with Beluga and Lamprey. But obviously not quite set up here. And the stat reduction from the Black Bear results in a bunch of team kills, but we still scrape the victory. And then here's one where I reverse the stats on this Woodpecker Hurt team. You would think that would be fatal for them, but both of the Porcupines survive. And the Porcupine with the Revenge Snipe is actually going to claim the victory. Woodpecker plus Wolverine, no joke. Now these next two clips are a pair, so they're not actually the same run, but this was me losing to this Mushroom Ammonite team from AMSA, where the Mimics get up to massive stats because of the Clownfish. And so I went back to the drawing board, adjusted my pack, and played Red-Lipped Batfish to try and deliberately counter this team. But it doesn't actually work because the Hooded Seal just transforms the Ammonite back. Not too often you see Hooded Seal working in a defensive capacity, but very effective in that particular run. And next up is another run where I was really struggling to get a combo going, and I kept getting matched with Equi with this double with the Sentry Kangaroo team. Makes a real mess of my team. But we still have huge stats on the Fringe Head. However, the Deer is silly, and you know it's going to summon on the other side of the board. I'm not sure if it's a 50-50 chance or not, but pretty unfortunate there. And then here's another one where looks like I'm going to show a little bit of the shop phase first. Probably some shoddy editing there. But again, we're on one heart. It's another Fringe Head team that is going to struggle against a disruption. And now Equi has the Red Dragon to guarantee that the unit at the back gets silly. And although my setup does work here where the Scorpion instant kills the Geometric Tortoise and causes a massive snipe, we still end up getting crushed. And then here's one against Carve, another one involving Takushi. And I think I might have shared this one privately. I don't know if it's actually been in a video or not. But a very funny sequence there where the iguana gets summoned on the other side of the board and then snipes the anglerfish, I think it was, on the other side as soon as it spawns. And then here we've got a couple from Broken Bench. This is rare footage of me playing Anubis while Bench plays not Anubis. This was the run where I was trying to get Melon on the Retriever from Seagull, as you can see it working there. And we're just going to scrape the win. I guess you should have taken Anubis Bench. But then this one is Anubis versus Anubis. And it's actually a rare situation where Bench doesn't have 4 faint pets. But I only have 1, and it's Firefly, which isn't going to cut it against that Ulm team, I think, that Bench was running. Alright, back on more familiar ground here. This is me playing Customs. And we're going to look at this run because there's going to be a cameo in it at some point. I won't spoil exactly when, but it is a fun one. So while this run is playing in the background, I guess I'll just, continue talking about sort of the SAP community at large. Making this video has actually made me realize just how much I've forgotten. It's been such a long time playing this game. There have been so many other creators that have come and gone. Some of them have come back. Some of them have moved on to other games. And it's really incredible to see, how much we've all extracted out of this game over the years. And everyone has very distinct play styles as well, which you can really tell just from watching the footage if you cover up the names, I think, sometimes. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, there were some people who I would have included, but I couldn't find any clips. So probably one of the most obvious omissions is going to be King Salmon. Now, I did actually play in a King Salmon versus lobby a while ago, but I don't think I saved the footage. So that's the reason that one's missing. Salmon mostly focuses on doing the weekly pack now. And since I don't play it very often, I did actually try earlier today playing a few rounds of the weekly just to see if I could get a matchup against Salmon, but it didn't happen. So to make up for it, I'll just say go and like and subscribe to King Salmon on YouTube. And yeah, anyone else who gets missed out, I apologize. It's taken me so long to put this list of clips together. I had to just draw the line somewhere because otherwise I would have been at this for way too long. And I need to get back to doing normal, 10, 15 minute videos instead of 40 minutes to an hour long epics. But that being said, I also should say, that the contributions of all the people who are not creators don't go unnoticed. The people who are commenting on the videos all the time, people who are commenting not just my videos, but videos on other channels as well. There's a lot of really dedicated followers for this game. I think that's the reason why we're all still here after so long. Of course, there are obviously always new pets to play with, but it's just more fun when you know a lot of people in the community, and getting those unusual matchups just means that much more when it happens against someone that you recognize. So, what's happening in this run? Yeah, this was a run where I had set up a pack where I had a few different ideas for Bombus builds. Now, Bombus is one of the new tier 1s from Danger Pack. I'm not sure if I've done a video on it already. It's one of my favorites. It has a very useful ability. It's kind of like Mosquito, as a worse stat line, but it is able to snipe twice, and it does so after every 2 attacks, although it can only do it twice in total. But that is an incredibly useful ability for removing equipment, and it always snipes the frontmost opponent as well, which is even more useful. And I think I set this pack up with a bunch of different possible teams. There were some I played where I had Toad. There were a bunch of different varieties, and I was just generally enjoying playing it because a lot of the battles would end up being surprising. I wouldn't expect to actually win them. And yeah, you can still go pretty far with Pineapple on low tier units in customs. Although you would expect this team to start falling off as we draw here on turn 12, I think it was. But we just need a couple of extra wins here to push us over the line. And I think I'm going to freeze the Batfish in the hopes that it can disrupt an opposing team and prevent a combo from going off. Now, I had been trying to record a few different things with Batfish, and oftentimes it was just backfiring horrendously. If you transform like a bison or something, or a behemoth into a faint pet, as long as its stats aren't above 50-50, it doesn't really matter. In fact, oftentimes it's a boost to the opposing team that they've got a new ability. And this is clearly before the patch, so you can see we end up facing Loopy Loop with the Crab Bulldog, which has since been patched out. But actually, I think we're going to do pretty well here. Yeah, the Bulldog gets chipped down, and we're going to actually scrape the win. So now we just need one more for the victory. And I do have 4 hearts, but this is the type of team where you expect from this point onwards you're just going to lose every single turn because you didn't really invest in any top tier units. I have got Beluga here, but we don't have any tier 6s. So it's not looking great. And yeah, next team is 4 tier 6s plus Tarantula Hawk, and again, the Batfish turns a useless cat into a platypus. So although we do okay here, considering that our team is hinging on tier 1 ability, we're still going to lose. So I think I want to get some stronger equipment, maybe steak onto the dog. Okay, we're going to take Cocoa Bean and level 3 on the dolphin. Just crossing our fingers for any kind of beatable opponent. Not sure this is going to be it. We do transform a behemoth, but it was only a 2020. This is, of course, when Giant Tortoise was still bugged, so you could get 100 stats on it. It should cap out at 50 attack. Although here the attack doesn't really matter at all. But miraculously we scraped the tie, so we're still alive on turn 16. We're just going to take whichever stat food we can get. And we still have all our fingers crossed, hoping for a summon team or anything that we can disrupt. Powerful snipe team just completely wipes our squad. Level 3s on everything because of, you guessed it, level 3 hatching chick. Again, looking for steak probably for the skeleton dog, but we don't find it. Probably should have sold it some time ago, but I felt sorry for it, so it's still in my team. We can't buy a perk onto the beluga until we get the other pet in the shop that we need. And this is looking pretty grim, an absolutely massive team. Looks like they've done some transformations here, I think, because there's no reason to have the Hotsin strawberry pet there. And it's a tie, it's just a tie again. So now we're on turn 18, and this team has absolutely no business being on turn 18. We've kept this tier 1 unit the whole way. Maybe there's a chance we could get level 3 Batfish here, although we would have to tie again. And here we get matched with Troubadour. And Troubadour was going for this very funny combo with Elephant Seal respawning. But blink and you miss it, we actually transformed his alpaca into a turtle. And that completely broke the synergy, resulting in the victory for the level 3 River Dolphin team, and we actually get the achievement too. So since our last opponent was Troubadour, we might as well look at some other clips. Of course, like I mentioned before, there are people from back at the beginning where I hardly have any clips. But all of the people who are still uploading, Troubadour, Metabrusque, RevGT, all these guys who are playing customs constantly, I get matched with them all the time, like constantly. So I have so much footage going against them. I could have probably done this same length of video just from those guys. And actually the other night I was telling Rev about a plan I had a while back that I kind of abandoned, where I was stockpiling clips. And I was planning on doing a video which was going to be titled something like, I have never lost to Rev GT. And then it was going to be like 15 minutes of me beating Rev over and over again. Of course I have lost to all of these guys many, many times. It's basically impossible to have an undefeated record against someone in arena. But I thought it would be amusing. And yeah, that one ended up getting shelved. Although we do beat Troubadour here with the very dodgy Leech plus Pink Robin team. I think I've shown that clip before. And then here's another one against Troubadour where the Lynx denies the Axe Handle Hound, but then the Cuckoo follows up. I'm sure I've shown that clip before as well, but it bears repeating. Same deal again where the Dolphin messes up the fact that the other team already has a duplicate. But I think this time, yeah, we get a super rare situation where the Cuckoo Chick gets pushed back on True's team. So in theory I could have fly trapped that Cuckoo Chick and gone for the achievement. And then finally, this is the pièce de résistance. This is hilarious for a hard counter where the Basilisk turns the Pelican to stone, and then the Stonefish still knocks the Pelican out. Next up, we'll go to the other Mantis Appreciator, which is Metabrusque. Previously had a different name, and at the time I didn't really keep track of any of those particular video clips. Maybe there would have been some good stuff in there. But Tiger plus Kappa. We don't get some particularly good spawns on our side, but I think we're on course for a tie here, depending on the spawns. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, the tiger's going to double activate the ant, and it's a loss. Now, in the last video, I did actually show this run. It wasn't this particular game, but this was the build I was going for. And in this one, you can see we actually have Donut on the behemoth. And I get matched with Metabrusque on turn 18, not running a scaling team. So I was absolutely over the moon. I thought this has got to be it. We're going to win, even though he's got the multiple nurse sharks here. We're going to get tons of stats onto the behemoth. Looks like the elephant's going to get sniped. Yep. Okay, it hangs on. And we still have just enough health, except the elephant comes back from the mushroom and knocks out the behemoth before we can tie. Absolutely painful. And then here are some clips that Metabrusque sent me of the reverse matchup where he's getting matched with me. That was going for all mandrakes. And then this one is much more recent where I was going for the hermit crab with Pandora's box. And very kindly has slowed it down. We do actually get the elephant seal activation, although the stats on my units get reduced by Luska. The blue fish guy got dazed from the Pandora's box, and we ended up claiming the victory. Next up is another person who doesn't use the same name as their channel. It's Collie Wally. Now, Collie hasn't uploaded for a long time, but has been threatening to in the creator Discord. So maybe his SAP career isn't over just yet. But these clips are from the Mirror Weekly, where we were both grinding for trying to get all the secret achievements. And I believe in the end, Collie did get all of them in that weekly, and I did not. And then here's another star pack, sort of clash of 5 of a kinds, where Collie looks like going for 5 polar bears, and I was going for 5 platypuses, and clearly there's only going to be one winner there. That was obviously in the old version of Star, because all 3 of those units are in customs only now. And then here's an absolutely ancient clip from Sag himself. And of course, way back, it was so much rarer to face other creators, and so I just have very few clips to choose from. Nothing really exciting there, but you can see how ropey the game looked at that point compared to now. Here's a more modern one with Sag going for the golden egg scam with Seagull, which has since been patched out, but it did allow you to get this sort of full 50-50 team way too quickly. Don't think my team would have beaten him anyway there, even if he had a more sensible squad. And then here's a bunch of clips against Flame. Flame has also kind of stopped playing customs, or stopped playing standard customs at least. But I just don't play wild at all, so we never really match up anymore. But there was a time when we were facing each other very frequently. And here's one where Flame was going for Panther with Golden Egg. What is it with everyone and Golden Egg? And I think I'm just going to lose by 2 HP, yep. And then here's a funny looking team with Onion plus Seagull. I guess that doesn't really work because the unit has to be summoned for the Seagull to actually give it the perk. Not going to stop us still losing to Flame there, even though the combo is a bit messed up. And then here's another 5 of a kind attempt clash where it's Fox and Tabby Cat, and Flame gets the better of me like he does most of the time. And so who does that leave that we haven't really talked about so far? Again, apologies to anyone else who's been left out. I know there are so many SAP creators out there, and there are actually loads of people who I've probably never communicated with or never even watched their videos. The algorithm just hasn't recommended them for whatever reason. But appropriately here, we're going to look at this game where I was playing against Haps. And this was back when Haps was streaming, and we were playing a versus lobby, so we were the last 2 survivors here. And it was penguins only. Now, I'm sure this the footage of this is probably on Haps' channel somewhere. I don't know if you can still get stream archives that far back. But this got to the point where it felt like it was just going to be a draw over and over again. And although there were some summoning perks, there was banana and you can see there's popcorn. The footage is actually so old that it shows the original artwork for the foods, which I was very hesitant to change to the new artwork, but I think almost everything of the new artwork in terms of food looks better than the old stuff did. Apart from maybe, I think cheese is the only one I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, we're both on one heart at this point, and I think at this point, yeah, Haps has worked out the formula to actually get the victory. I'm not sure what I can't even really remember this game very well, but yeah, I was pretty salty there. So then we move on to Rev. Obviously going to have to save the best for last, although some of these clips aren't necessarily the best clips. But, myself and Rev have had a lot of collaborations over the years, and hopefully more to come in the near future. Life permitting, because one of us has gone and selfishly had a child and made it a bit harder to play draft games and so on. But here's a clip that I don't think has ever been shown before. And I asked Rev the other night, did he put a video out on this or not? But I thought this was a cool idea with the cooked roach coming back, the cockroach coming back with mushroom, and then getting another level up trigger. Unfortunately here, not going to be good enough against the Lamprey Triceratops team. But I did send him a private message to congratulate him on that build. And then here's another one where I was trying to go for this spider crab team. Rev's actually had a spider crab video very recently, and it was not going well. And I ended up matching against his manticore squad here with the red dragon. But it's a tie. Of course, that team was going nowhere, but lucky to still survive. And then here's one where I think I was supposed to have Behemoth inside the Beluga here. I didn't quite get it set up in time. But we sabotage Rev with the Cuckoo. Something goes flying off the screen. I didn't even see what it was. And I don't think the Phoenix is going to have quite enough to salvage the draw. No, the Cuckoo is left standing. Proving once and for all, Cuckoo is way, way better than Wyvern. So now we're on to the last of the clips that have been sent by other people. And again, it's someone who's changed their name, and it is Rev himself. So he changed his name not too long ago. There was a reason for it. I don't really remember what it was. But it doesn't. He no longer has RevGT as his username, which is a very interesting marketing strategy. But this is a hilarious sequence here. Yeah, Rev's going to type OMG in the code redeem box. So now that Stork lets you get pets from any pack, Rev was trying to get Wombat here. So I discussed with him that I was going to be doing one of these videos, and it would be nice to have a run from him to include. And he said I was thinking about doing Wombat in Star Pack. But it looked like on this particular day he had the white-bellied heron seed instead, and got 3 of them out of 4 storks. A very creative idea using the Firefly to actually feint 4 storks in one go. So I guess we're just going to follow this run out to the conclusion. I haven't watched this in advance, so I did know that he got the triple heron on that turn. But from this point on, I'm not exactly sure what happens. But at Star Pack, I guess we can take a reasonable guess. Looks like someone here going for the achievement with the cooked roach again. Mantis double feint. Probably just going to keep the ants and feint them as well, or maybe sell them with starfish. I don't like selling the ants with level 1 starfish because you get so few buffs. Yeah, that's like plus 2/2. It's just not worth it. I always greed, but of course Rev is going to try and carry this heron all the way to the end, and so he probably needs whichever stats he can get as soon as possible. Although, to be honest, just letting the 2 ants feint would have been plus 6/6 instead of plus 1/1. Or plus 2/2, I guess, because there were 2 pets left. And now taking Clownfish. I feel like you can tell when Rev is moving into like versus mode, where by the movement of his mouse, there's a lot more concentration. Okay, it looks like we are going to skip to the end. I think I had to trim this down because the video was already so long that there was just no way I was ever going to fit everything in if I kept the full run here. And Rev definitely did give me his blessing to cut out what I needed to cut. Unfortunately, there the Mammoth, I think, got the buff from the Spino. But this is a decent enough setup, having play against all packs is on, so you can face the weaker packs like Unicorn and Danger, I guess, as he takes the win against Danger here. And a nice buff to the Mantis, although probably would have preferred it to go on one of the other units that isn't going to auto-scale to 50-50. Ammonite in shop. Would you take Ammonite here? Looks like he's not going to do it. And then he's just going to rearrange. I have mentioned this a few times recently, that the Heron has kind of an awkward ability. At level 1, giving Meatbone is pretty good, way back at the beginning. But then the further you go into the game and you level the Heron up, the worse it gets because you're overwriting more important equipment. You really don't want Meatbone instead of Pepper there. But that's just the way Heron works at the moment. Doesn't stop him winning here. And he celebrates the Meatbone. Would Pepper have done the job as well? I'm sure it probably would have. Thankfully this time the Spino does not buff the unit that was spawned by the Mantis. And looks like, he's just going to keep buffing the Heron. Now, Rev did actually get some games here where he got the Wombat, but usually it was too late, which is why we're settling for this Heron one. Since he is one of the other creators that has a busy personal life, it would be pretty rough to expect him to keep playing to try and get an actual victory in this pack with Wombat on the team. I mean, it would be incredibly impressive, and if anyone can do it, I would love to see it. But yeah, I wasn't going to do that to him. I just wanted any kind of usable footage that I didn't have to record myself. And unfortunately there, he ends up losing to the bee. We battled hard, Rev. Never a truer word spoken. And I'll let him sign off for both of us and the rest of the SAP community.